and welcome back for another Music Theory Bite. In this video, we're going to learn about how to identify or take dictation of melodic intervals. If that sounds like something you'd like to learn more about, then this is the video for you. Before you watch this video, you should check out my videos on spelling intervals and my 4-video series on singing intervals. You should also check out my video on identifying scale degrees, as all of those will be helpful with understanding and applying the techniques I'm about to show you. One more thing before we begin. To practice this skill, you're going to need some way of generating random intervals. A great way to do this is to work with a friend. Take turns playing intervals for each other. If you happen to be alone, you can try playing random pitches on a piano, but this works best if you play the two pitches with different hands. Finally, there are several websites and apps that provide practice drills for this skill. Many of them are quite good. I will be using an app that I created for this purpose called Dr. C's Ear Training Suite. This app provides drill exercises for recognizing major and minor scale degrees, intervals, triads, and seventh chords. And it's available for iOS devices on the App Store. Sorry, Android users, I don't have a version for your operating system yet, but I'm working on it. So, if you're ready, let's begin. Let's talk about how people hear music. For most people, that is, people who don't have absolute pitch, when we hear musical sounds, our brains locate a tonal center, and we hear scale degrees around that tonal center. Understanding that process is important for understanding how to hear intervals. When an interval is played, what you're going to do is begin by identifying the implied tonal center. You'll do this by hearing one or both of the pitches as scale degrees around an implied tonic. Identify which scale degree you are hearing and how it resolves back to tonic, preferably through one of the scale degree patterns. Next, identify the scale degree of the other pitch. Once you have both scale degrees identified, use your knowledge of theory of where these intervals show up in the major or minor scale, what component scale degrees go into each of them, to identify the interval. So in a sense, we're not identifying intervals at all. We're identifying pairs of acontextual scale degrees which form intervals. But that isn't as sexy to say, so it's easier to just say we're going to identify intervals. So let's get started. I have my app, and here it is here. And the first thing I'm going to do is have it generate a random interval. Turn up the volume a little bit. I hear those two pitches. La, la. Now, I'm hearing an implied tonal center there. La, la, la. That first pitch, the high pitch, sounds like tonic to me. So I'm going to assume that that is the tonal center. Now all I have to do is identify the scale degree of the other pitch. La, la. And it sounds to me like 5, 1. And I know from my study of music theory that 5 to 1 forms a perfect fourth. So let's see if I'm correct. And sure enough, I am. Let's try another one. La, la. This one's a tricky one. So I'm going to grab one of those two pitches. I'll take the high one. La, la, la. That sure sounds like scale degree 4 to me. So then I have to identify the other pitch. La, la. Notice how both pitches are using the same tonal center. That's what defines the interval. So I have a scale degree 5, 4, which creates a minor seventh. And sure enough, that one's correct too. Let's try another one. La, la. All right, this one's even trickier, but there's a lot of energy in this interval. La, la, la. I'm hearing that bottom pitch of scale degree 7. It's wanting to push me up to scale degree 1. La, 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 7, 1, la, 4, 3, 1. So what I'm hearing is scale degree 4, 7, which I know creates a tritone. Correct again. We'll do one more. La, la. Two pitches that are really close together. So I know it's going to be some smaller interval, a second, a third, or something like that. The two pitches, of those two pitches, the higher one sounds a lot more stable. La. And the other one sounds like it has a lot of energy to push upward to it. La, la. Which means I'm hearing 7, 1, and that's a minor second. And sure enough, correct again. So the process, just to summarize, is I hear the two pitches, I identify a tonal center which is suggested by those two pitches. Every interval we have can be found either in a major scale or a minor scale. In fact, they can all be found in the major scale. And they point me towards a tonal center. Once I hear that tonal center, I take one of the pitches, and it doesn't matter which one it is, and I figure out what scale degree it is in relation to that tonal center. Once I've got that figured out, then I will find the other pitch and hear that in relation to the same tonal center. Once I have the two scale degrees identified, I then figure out what interval is formed between those two scale degrees. And that part is just memorizing. That's the theory part that you have to bring to the table. Understanding how to use that method and actually applying that method are two very different things. I know I make it look easy, but this is something that I've been doing for several decades now. This takes practice, so make sure you're spending a little bit of time every day. The time you spend doing this will be worth it. Now, here's another very important point. You cannot control how you hear an interval. That is, the scale degrees that you hear that go into it. You can only control how you react to it. That's the reason that memorizing all of the scale degree combinations for each interval is so important. If you hear a perfect fourth, a scale degree 2 to 5, it's still a perfect fourth, just not the one you might have expected. And oftentimes, if we're hearing things in a context that's already established, maybe from a song that we were hearing on our way to practice, or maybe the previous interval established the context that the next interval just happens to fall in, you're not necessarily always going to hear it as scale degree 5 to 1. Now you might be wondering why I don't rely on the song method. Many teachers teach intervals by teaching the songs that use them. Here Comes the Bride for the perfect fourth, the Barney song for the minor third, and so on. In a sense, that method relies on identifying the intervals as scale degrees in the context of a familiar song. So, in a sense, it's the same thing I'm asking you to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't teach it that way because I feel it's missing the point about why we learn to sing and identify intervals in the first place. We don't do it because it will be something that we'll be asked to do professionally. I don't think I've ever been asked to demonstrate the skill in a professional setting. We do it because the act of hearing and then understanding what you're hearing in context is the important part. Simply matching up two notes with a song only gets you part of the way there. The next step, the important step, is being able to identify where those notes are in the broader context of the tonal center, of the key. That's something that I've had to do many times in a professional context. Well, that's it for this video. If you found it helpful, please like it. Please feel free to share constructive comments below. And as always, to learn about the latest music theory bites, subscribe. Until next time.